Lifespan development, physical and cognitive development in early adulthood. Chapter outline, the transition from adolescent to adulthood. Next is physical development. Next is sexuality. Next is cognitive development. Next is career and work. The transition from adolescent to adulthood. Number 1, becoming an adult. Number 2, the transition from high school to college. Becoming an adult. Becoming an adult, emerging adulthood. Emerging adulthood, transition from adolescent to adulthood. Number 1, occurs from approximately 18 to 25 years of age. Number 2, characterized by experimentation and exploration. Key features. Number 1, identity exploration. Identity exploration, especially in love and work. Number 2, instability, self-focus, and feeling in between. Number 3, the age of possibilities. The age of possibilities, a time when individuals have an opportunity to transform their lives. Parents can play an important role in guiding and preparing adolescents for emerging adulthood. Number 1, provide them with opportunity to be contributors. Number 2, give candid, constructive, and quality feedback to adolescents. Number 3, create positive adult connection. Create positive adult connection. Adolescents learn to handle autonomy maturely. Number 4, challenge adolescents to become more competent. Marker of becoming an adult. Number 1, holding a full-time job. Number 2, economic independence. Number 3, taking responsibility for oneself. The transition from high school to college. The transition from high school to college. Top dog phenomenon. Movement to a larger school structure. Interaction with peers from more diverse geographical and ethnic background. Increased focus on achievement and assessment. Positive futures. Intellectual challenge. Time with peers. Different lifestyle independence. Negative futures is stress and depression. Physical development of early adulthood. Number 1, physical performance and development. Number 2, health. Number 3, eating and weight. Next is regular exercise. And last is substance abuse. Physical development. Physical performance and development. Number 1, peak physical performance typically occur between 19 and 26 years old. Number 2, muscle tone and strength usually begin to decline around age of 30. Health. Health is number 1 is emerging adult have mortality rate that of adolescent. Number 2, more chronic health problems. Number 3, engage in more health compromising behavior. Number 4, more likely to be obese. And last is more likely to have mental disorder than adolescent. physical development, eating in weight. Obesity, linked to increased risk of hypertension, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Number 2, associated with mental health issue. Number 3, factor involved in obesity. Number 1 is heredity. Number 2, environmental factor, for example, decline in activity, low SES versus higher SES. Number 3, diet versus diet and exercise program. Binge eating order, BED. Binge eating order, number 1, recurrent binge eating without purging, feeling lack of control. Number 2, overweight from frequent binge without purging. Number 3, afflict females more than males. Bed, biological and psychological factor. Binge eating disorder, biological and psychological factor. Number 1, genes. Number 2, neurotransmitter dopamine. Number 3, afflict adolescent from families with ineffective emotional connection. Afflict adolescent from families with ineffective emotional connection. Number 3, cognitive behavior and interpersonal therapy help. Regular exercise help prevent chronic disorder. Aerobic exercise. Sustained exercise stimulate heart and lung activity. Exercise benefit both physical and mental health. For example, anxiety and depression. Strategies. Strategies, number 1, reduce screen time and replace with exercise. Number 2, chart your progress. Number 3, get rid of excuses. Number 4, imagine the alternative. For example, what will my life be like if I lose my healthy? Substance abuse. Substance abuse is addiction. Addiction is overwhelming involvement with using a drug and preoccupation with securing its supply. Alcohol. Number 1, pre-gaming, men and women drinking at home before event. Number 2, binge drinking. Binge drinking, more than 5 drinks in a row in the past 2 weeks. Number 3, extreme binge drinking. Extreme binge drinking, 10 to 15 or more drink in the row in the last 2 weeks. And number 4, alcoholism. Alcoholism, long-term repeated uncontrolled compulsive and excessive alcohol use impairing user health and relationship. Cigarette smoking and nicotine and e-cigarette. Number 1, smoking linked to cancer, death, heart diseases, death, and chronic pulmonary disease, death. Number 2, thought adult smoker would like to quit. Addiction to nicotine makes quitting challenging. Sexuality. Sexuality activity in emerging adulthood. Pattern of heterosexual behavior. Number 1, males have more casual sex partner, while females report being more selective. Women, still under stricter social norm, and criticized for having multiple sexual partner. About 60% of individuals have experienced sexual intercourse with at least one partner by the end of emerging adulthood. Casual sex is more common in emerging adulthood. Friends with benefits. Casual sex is more common in emerging adulthood. Friends with benefits. Heterosexual attitude and behavior from 1994 survey. Americans fall into three categories: have sex twice a week or more, a few times a year not at all, a few times a month, married and cohabiting. Married couples have sex more often than non-cohabiting couples. Most Americans do not engage in kinky sexual act. Adultery is the exception rather than rule. Men think about sex far more than often than women do. Sexual activity linked to well-being from 2017 study. Higher reported sexual pleasure and intimacy predictive more positive effect and less negative effect in next day. Source of sexual orientation. Source of sexual orientation number 1, 3.8% of US adults report being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transsexual. Number 2, sexual orientation is continuum from exclusive male-female relationship to exclusive same-sex relation, and some people are bisexual. Most likely a combination of genetic, hormonal, cognitive, and environmental factor. Number 4, whether heterosexual, gay, lesbian, or bisexual, a person cannot be talked out of his/her sexual orientation. Attitude and behavior of lesbian and gay. Attitude and behavior of lesbian and gay. Many gender differences that appear in heterosexual relationship occur in same-sex relationship. Lesbians have fewer sexual partner and less permissive attitude about casual sex than gay men. Hate crime and stigma-related experience are special concern. 20% of sexual minority adults have experienced a person or property crime related to their sexual orientation. Number 2, 50% have experienced verbal harassment. Sexual transmitted infection, STI, disease contracted primarily through sex. HIV of biggest global concern. 37 million individuals living with HIV around the world. Half of all new infection in the 15 to 24 years old cohort. Effective strategies for protecting against HIV. Know your risk status and that your partner. Number 2, obtain medical examination. Number 3, have protective sex using condom. Number 4, do not have sex with multiple partners. Forcible sexual behavior and sexual harassment. Rape. Rape is forcible sexual intercourse with a person, female or male, who does not give consent. not given consent. 60% of rape victims, especially college students, do not acknowledge it, and nearly 200,000 rape are reported per year in the United States. Rape is an act of violence and humiliation. Number two, higher level of men's sexual narcissism linked to likelihood assault. Number three, trauma from rape can cause post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, suicidal thought, and substance abuse. Then, gonorrhea, commonly called drip or clap, caused by bacterium, spread by contact between infective mucous membrane, characterized by discharge from penis or vagina, and painful urination can lead to infertility. Syphilis, caused by bacterium treponema, characterized by appearance of sore. Where syphilis entered the body, the sore can be on external genital, vagina, or anus. Later, a skin rash break out on palms, on hand, and bottom of feet. If not treated, can be eventually lead to paralysis or even death. Genital herpes. Genital herpes caused by family of virus with different strain involve an eruption of sores and blister spread by sexual contact. Chlamydia. Chlamydia, a common STI name for the bacterium Chlamydia trachomatis, an organism that spread by sexual contact and affect the genital organs of both sexes. A special concern is that female with chlamydia may become infertile. It is recommended that adolescent and young adult female have annual screening for this STI. About 3 million people in the United States annually. Treatment is antibiotic. AIDS. AIDS is caused by virus, the human immune deficiency virus, HIV, which destroy the body immune system. Semen and blood are the main vehicles of transmission. Common symptoms include fever, night sweat, weight loss, chronic fatigue, and swollen lymph nodes. Incidence: more than 300,000 cumulative cases of HIV virus in U.S. 25 to 34 years old. Epidemic incidence in sub-Saharan country. Treatment: new treatment have slowed the progression from HIV to AIDS. No cure. Genital wart. Genital wart caused by human papillomavirus, HPV, which does not always produce symptoms, usually appear as a small hard painless bump in vagina area or around the anus. Very contagious. Certain high-risk type of virus cause cervical cancer and genital cancer may recur despite treatment. A new HPV preventive vaccine, Gardasil, has been approved for girls and women 9 to 26 years of age. About 5 million new cases annually, considered the most common STI in United States. Genital wart or HPV, the most common sexual transmitted infection here in the U.S. treatment: A. Topical drug, freezing, or surgery. Cognitive state, Piaget view. Formal operational thought is final stage, is cognitive development, and it's characterized adult as well as adolescent. Post-formal thought, reflective, relativistic, and contextual, provisional, influenced by emotion. Wisdom and meaning are important development in emerging adulthood. Critical life experience, reminiscence and reflectiveness, openness to experience, emotional regulation, and humor. Cognitive stage. Cognitive state is creativity. Creativity qualifying any conclusion about age and creative accomplishment are: number one, magnitude of decline in productivity. Number two, contrast across creative domain. Number three, individual difference in lifetime output. Impressive array creative accomplishment can occur in late adulthood. Career and work. Career and work, developmental change, funding path to purpose, monitoring occupational outlook, the impact of work, and last is diversity in workplace. Career and work, developmental change. From mid-20 on, individuals seek establish their emerging career in particular field, finding a path to purpose. Only 20% of 12 to 22 years old had clear vision where they want to go in life. Student focus only in short-term goal. Don't explore the big long-term picture of what they want to do in life. Monitoring the occupational outlook. Be knowledgeable about different fields and companies. 72% of employers say will hire recent college graduate. The impact of work. Most spend of their lives at work, working up to 50 hours per week. Important consideration is how stressful the work is. Physical and emotional negative impact. Work during college. Work during college is 78% of college students are working. Number two, cooperative o co-op program, paid apprenticeship in field 1 interested pursuing. Unemployment. Unemployment produces stress is related to physical and emotional problems, marital difficulties, and homicide. Dual earners couple face special challenge in balancing between work and family life. Diversity in the workplace. Women have increasingly entered the labor force. Women have increasingly entered the labor force. Increased ethnic diversity requires a sensitivity to cultural difference and appreciation of cultural values that working bring to a job. Glass ceiling. Glass ceiling is women and ethnic minorities still not being promoted based on accomplishment and merit, preventing career advancement to managerial or executive jobs. Mortality rates of U.S. adolescent and emerging adult text. Mortality for 12 to 17 and 18 to 24 years old male and female is due unintentional injury, homicide, suicide, other reason. Out of 100 young adults between age of 12 and 17, there are 47.1 male death and 24.3 female death. For females 18 to 24, there are 137 deaths. And for female the same age, 49.3 deaths per 100 males 18 to 24 have highest mortality rate 137.